chosen, he is basically sitting on top of the legislature and he's making it powerless. And so that's a much bigger issue. I mean, Mark has been affected very negatively. I know I have 4 kids, he's got 3 kids. Taking care of them is a financial issue. But he wouldn't have gone in the legislature if he was focused on money, frankly. That was not a good career choice for him. So that's not what he's about. And that's this is the last thing Marquise would do, is bring a lawsuit. It's totally contrary to his problem-solving approach and his personality. And I know that just from spending time with him in the last few weeks. So this was a last resort, but it was ultimately necessary to have this done.
Mark, you've talked a lot about why you're doing this, but can you talk a little bit about how this whole issue has affected your family?
Sure. I mean, clearly I was looking forward to transitioning into the next chapter. There are term limits of the legislature. I was ending my last term and looking forward to really going towards a job, really leading a great organization and institution that was consistent with the values that brought me to run for the legislature, to choose my profession. Those values were consistent with the mission of Goodwill Hinckley. We were very much forward looking to that next chapter in our life. I feel disappointed that I'm not able to provide that leadership for that organization. There's a lot of work to do there for those at-risk kids. So it has impacted my family, and that's why I do not want this to happen to any other family or individual. That's why we're bringing this suit forward.
Timeframe, how this is going to work out? The deposition until you actually get in court?
The future?
Future, yes.
Well, there are, unfortunately, in civil rights cases, lots of roadblocks put up to make it much harder to win. So government officials like the governor have more defenses and procedural protections than the average person. Whether that's right or wrong, that's the way it is. So that will affect the course of the case. But I'm quite confident that the federal court will allow us to proceed and also allow us to take the deposition of the governor. So I think those are major events that will happen.
Is there any other legal avenue for you to proceed interfering with the contract, something like that?
Yes, under state law, and that's an example. State law requires that you wait 120 days before filing suit in court once you file a notice of claim, so you're prohibited from going to court quickly. So I know that the press was wondering why I was taking so long, but actually this is considered lightning speed for lawyers to file a lawsuit this quickly. And on the state claim, I can't file the lawsuit right away. I have to go through the notice of claim process. So there are some protections for government officials that are going to slow things down a little.
Have you already filed a notice of change at the state level?
It will be following very soon upon this federal court complaint because it's the same facts. So that will be happening very soon.
And you guys can get a jury trial here? Is that your call, or
The Speaker has an absolute right to a jury trial. We will get a jury trial. That's one of the crown jewels of our system of justice, is that I think it's one area where the people really still rule, and like other parts of the world, and also with moneyed interest. So we're really looking forward to a cross-section of Mainers looking at this and applying their common sense. I would point out on that a couple of weeks before the governor got the Speaker fired, he said publicly, frankly, I think Markey should go back where he came from. Basically saying he wanted him to leave Maine, which is a pretty personally vindictive comment. Move his 3 children and get out of the state. And then a few weeks later, takes an action that would possibly cause that. So I think when Mainers look at that story, it doesn't take a PhD to figure out what's going on there. It's plain and simple retaliation and abuse of power.
Any clues as to who might be representing the government?
No, I don't know. That's totally up to the governor.
Would there be any conflict with his current legal counsel were to do it? If you foresee any conflicts?
I have to worry about my issues. I'm not gonna meddle in other people's issues.
And in terms of timing, I mean, is this likely to be 6 months, a year before you end up getting a hearing?
Well, frankly, it depends a little bit on how much the governor resists accountability. So, he could try to get an appeal and try to stop everything from happening if he doesn't want to answer questions under oath. I don't think that would work, but it might slow things down. So a lot of it depends on whether the governor is willing to step forward and let a main jury decide.
But a deposition, you're going to seek a deposition, that would be giving answers under oath.
It would.
And a trial would come at some date beyond that.
Right, that's true.
Is it likely that either of those things would happen before January?
I really don't like making predictions. The bosses are right behind me. the federal judges, and they're going to decide. And I don't want to get in the business of telling them what they're going to be doing ahead of time.
Mr. Speaker, are you considering leaving Maine? Employment-wise, what are you thinking?
So I am not considering leaving Maine. We moved here for a very specific reason, and that is because of its communities, of its quality of its public education system, because my parents were here. As we thought about having kids of our own, that's what drove us here. We plan on staying here. We love Maine. We love everything that it has to offer. I'm very fortunate. Actually, I was able to start a job this week with a former employer, Woodford's, who I worked for last year. They provide services to kids with autism and intellectual disabilities. So I'm very thrilled to be able to start with them this week, and glad that I'm able to help them out.
What's your job title, or what exactly are you doing?
Director of Development, so I'm doing a number of different fundraising projects with them, one of which is a preschool for kids with autism up in Waterville, a number of projects like that we're making sure that we can serve kids with autism and intellectual disabilities.
As far as Goodwill Hinckley, are you confident that your political position will bear whatsoever?
You know, I take them at their word. I know what process I went through, and it was very clear. So they've been very clear that this has been an apolitical process. They went through a 9-month search to make sure that they got as many applicants as they could. They decided unanimously that I was the most qualified candidate to lead their organization as president.
Yeah, I think we were pretty careful in the court complaint to detail Mark's very long 15-year devotion to a career of service, especially for children and youth at risk and who are disadvantaged, and you don't do that so you can make big bucks later. That's not a good career plan for that. So it's obvious that he was somebody whose heart and soul was into the mission of the Goodwill Hinckley School, and that's a pretty essential qualification to be a great president. Also, I think being elected Speaker of the House is not a trivial matter. It is the most democratic part of our government, and to lead that the House requires leadership, and to get budgets passed requires leadership. So, the governor doesn't have a high opinion of the legislature, but the people who founded our country and the state think it's the most important part of our government. And so I think it is an accomplishment to be the Speaker. Okay, thank you. Yep, well said.
Anybody needs a written copy of Speaker Eve's statement?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Anybody would like a written copy of
Or need more tape?
Oh, and Andy O'Brien too. Yeah, because he's my new editor. Oh, great.
Johnny.
Let's just try it.